All right, boys.
Moving along.
Canelo.
Keeping it pushing. How many of y'all like cinnamon? Cinnamon toast crunch?
Boy, I just ate some.
Cinnamon French toast.
That's what I was eating before we.
You know what I'm saying? Cinnamon was in full effect. We had 73,000 cinnamon fans in attendance Saturday night to watch Canelo.
Saul Canelo
Alvarez doing what he does best, and that's, showing everybody that he's levels ahead of these guys that he's fighting.
Mm-hmm.
He took on Billy Joe Saunders this weekend. I believe it was the 8th. Yeah, April 8th or May 8th. I'm sorry,
May 8th.
Yeah, May 8th. And man, he broke him down. Here's my initial thoughts of the fight. Going into round 8, I was like, okay, we're about 4-3 Canelo. That was my initial assumption. And then at the end of the round, I was like, okay, it's about 5-3 now. So Billy Joe Saunders didn't look bad for a majority of the fight. Once he got hurt, he looked scared. He looked like he could not wait for that bell to ring. And when they showed Canelo in the corner after that round, he wasn't sitting down. I was like, okay, he knows something's going on here. Like he smelled blood in the water, and then he walks to the neutral corner, and the announcers are saying Canelo's walking around like he knows he just won this fight. And then it was like, oh shit, he won this fight. Billy Joe Saunders will not get up off the stool. So caught him with the right uppercut. And immediately when he caught him with that uppercut, man, I remember telling my wife, I was like, he's done. Like, look at his eye. That eye is not gonna. And I put it on my Facebook. I was like, he just closed his eye. Like, he is done. And I thought, his eyes closed. He doesn't want any more. I didn't know it was as bad as it was, but he had been throwing that right uppercut all night. He caught it in round 4, I believe. And when he caught it in round 4, that mouthpiece came out. It didn't all the way out, but the mouthpiece came out. You saw some vavas flying. I was like, oh, it's about to. I thought it, but Canelo, they call that admiring your work. He hit him with that uppercut, and then he stopped and he looked at him like, oh, he thought he was gonna drop him. But basically, what he did, man, is Billy Joe was coming in on him. I mean, he was closing the distance, and Canelo just took a step back, threw the right uppercut, landed it right on his cheek, and immediately this all turned like a maroonish purple. And Billy just started like basically running, cowering, like he was just not engaged in the fight after that. And it turns out that Canelo broke his face.
Literally.
So here was the bad part of the fight. It was a good fight. Billy Joe Saunders talked so much shit about how he would never quit. He'd rather go out on his shield.
You ain't never seen nobody with this much heart.
Right. I thought you were having a heart attack, fam. I was like, oh shit, what are we doing?
Fuck. No, asshole. No.
Yeah,
I'm falling and I can't get up.
He was like, if my eyes were both closed and all my teeth were coming out, he's like, I would rather just go out of the ring with no pulse than just quit.
Huh?
And what did he do?
He quit.
He quit.
He was halfway there. He had one eye gone. So
he gone.
And then he quit.
He quit.
Did he quit, or did the doctor stop it?
He quit, dog. Like his corner threw the towel, but I'm convinced that it came on his word.
It was because when you saw him in the corner, when the cameras went over to his corner and they were trying to figure out what was going on, the doctors were going over there. The cut man was trying to open his eye, and he literally was trying to pry his eye open, and he just couldn't get it to open. And you could see that he hung his head at that point. And he was like, he told his trainer, "I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not coming out. That's it. I'm done." And so he turned around and he was like, "That's it. He don't want no more." So they called the fight because it was on his words, on Saunders' words. He was like, "No, I can't continue. That's it. I'm done." So, and like Joe was saying, I mean, I agree a little bit. Saunders did kind of hang in a little bit at the beginning. I think Canelo pre-fight had already said that, he wasn't really going to start turning up the heat or boxing until about the 6th to 8th round. That's when he was really going to start turning it on, because by that time he'd have already felt him out for a couple of rounds. He'll already know what his game plan is, kind of dissecting him to see what his game plan was or what he was going to try to do. And you could tell that Saunders tried to take a page out of Floyd's book from when Floyd fought Canelo, and tried to, do a lot of the dancing around the ring, try to make it quick, throw quick combinations, get in and out real fast. But
he ain't as fast, bro.
Exactly. One, he's not as fast as Floyd, and he don't have Floyd's defense. So there's no way in hell that he could use that page from that book. But he tried to do it, and he got caught for it. And he also said that he apparently has some sort of, he has power too. He's a southpaw. Southpaws normally have an advantage in any fight, but Canelo proved all of them wrong, and he was able to just, in my opinion, Canelo dominated that fight the whole fight. And as the later rounds started getting near and near to the end, you could see that Saunders kept trying to hold him at times, not trying to tie him up, not trying to fight. He would try to get off of the ropes and get out from in front of him as quick as he could. And he paid for it for that. And every time that he kept trying to duck real low and just trying to duck all the way down to where he was literally squatting in the ring just to try to move his head and bob and weave, that's what ended up costing him his eye at the end, because he ducked real low. And when he ducked, Saul caught him with that right uppercut right there, right underneath that eye, and fractured his face. So it was a damn good fight, and I was glad the way that it ended. I would have rather seen him get knocked out, but hey, it is what it is.
I agree, man. I agree with your assessment. For the most part, I don't think that Canelo dominated the entire fight. I think some of the middle rounds, especially Billy Joe, was just more active. You ain't got to leave, dog. If you don't he don't agree with my assessment, so he left.
I was grabbing something to drink, bro.
It's okay, bro. It's okay. But the way I saw, like, Billy Joe was more active, and that's something that Canelo has yet to put a whole fight together. You know what I'm saying? For 12 rounds, he's just not that guy. He's not gonna fight you for 12 rounds. He is guilty of taking rounds off, and I feel like Billy Joe.
I think some of that also has to do with, I don't think he's been presented with a challenge yet that can push him 12 rounds yet. And that's a lot of the back talk you get from a lot of other camps is like, well, my fighter can go 12 rounds with Canelo. Every camp says that, but there has been yet a fighter out there to push him the full 12 rounds. I
don't agree with that, bro, because you have the other southpaw he fought, Erislandy Lara. He was a lefty, bro, and he pushed him. He pushed him all 12. And Billy Joe, he wanted to kind of take a page from that playbook. He wanted to do the same thing Laura did, but he just doesn't. He doesn't have the power and the speed like Erislandy does. And obviously, man, I mean, it's a name that I get tired of hearing. But Triple G's taking him 12 rounds twice. You know what I'm saying? So the first one, a lot of people say Canelo should have lost. I say it was pretty damn close, but I gave Canelo the edge. The second one, I think Canelo that hurt him. I think Canelo won the second one as well, but I think Canelo took some rounds off, and that's what made it. He started out solid, took the rounds off, And then it's like you forget all the work he put in the early rounds because you're seeing him get his ass whooped in the middle rounds. And so you kind of, it's what have you done for me lately, especially when you're a judge. You're like, what do you remember the most recent shit you saw? Yeah. So when you see it's tit for tat at the end, it's going to be a little bit closer than it should have been.
Yeah.
But I think Canelo, he did what he wanted to do. He walked the bigger man down, which is something we've seen him do a lot at 168 is he's just walking these guys down. He has no fear of taking a punch.
Nope.
That chin's taking some shots that I'm like, damn, this dude, he didn't even get wobbled. I was like, okay. Yeah. So once he took a couple of good shots, he was like, I'm gonna just walk this dude down. I'm not scared of him. And I think he worked him. He took some rounds off. And like you said, he said, I thought it was between 7 and 9 that he said, I'll get him out of there between the 7th and 9th round. And sure enough, it was the 8th that he couldn't get off his stool. So,
but see, that's where it goes back to levels. There's levels to this. Like Canelo is a totally different level of boxer, and he will always be a level above people. That's why we keep seeing him. It looks like he's fighting tomato cans, but he's making it look like he's fighting tomato cans. So,
yeah, I agree with you.
I think a lot of what has to do with that is his preparation before a fight. Because he talks about it all the time, how he mentally prepares for a fight, physically and all that stuff. And then also the way he's adapted from every single fight, he takes something from that fight and he just adds it to his repertoire. So that way it makes him better. And I don't see very many fighters. And the other thing that's great about him is that he's still hungry. It's like he's not satisfied. Yeah, he's already gotten all these belts, but he's like, I want more. I want more. I want somebody to challenge me to take this from me. I want somebody to step up, but nobody's been able to do that.
Bro, I agree with you as far as his skill. Like Canelo is a skilled fighter. But if we really being honest, Joe made a good point with, I don't know if it was not this last fight, but the fight before that we saw with no fans, no audio, like no nothing. Bro, the fighters it's not the same. Like these fighters aren't as good as like the early Mayweather era.
Well, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that too. I mean, you got fighters now. There's not the same caliber of fighter as there was back when Mayweather fought, when Chavez fought. They're not the same.
But like with Canelo is in that class of elite. And the rest of these guys are like the best of tier 2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're the elite boxer and there's not anyone else that's elite, because I mean, I hate to bring Mayweather up in this discussion, but when I think of that, like that type of scenario, I think Mayweather, Zab Judah. Like that fight could have went either way. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people didn't look at Zab as being an elite boxer. They just thought he was a brawler. But Zab was a good fighter. Canelo is an elite boxer he's fighting, I mean, I don't want to say subpar, but like almost average talent because these guys are not at his level.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically fighting the best of what's available.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't hate on that. That's why like when people are like, oh well, Mayweather, you know, I've been critical of Mayweather and I'm like, oh man, he kind of cherry picked towards like, okay, this guy's like when he fought Canelo, to me, I was like, Canelo's green as grass. Like, there's no way Canelo's gonna win this fight. It's not even gonna be close. He embarrassed him. But Canelo, you saw his growth just from that fight, and to this day, he still references that fight. When you ask him, to this day, you ask him, you know, what's been the biggest
Yeah,
point
that
in
was
his
a turning
career.
point in his career.
And he's like, that fight. That
his
fight.
whole style changed after that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about. You know,
like he picked something from every fight since that fight that he's using now. Because once he fought Mayweather, like you clearly saw the change in his defensive skill.
Yep.
I mean, his stance. Hell, he had the Mayweather stance. I'm like, damn, he got this down to the T.
And the thing is he's so young still, dog. Like he's still young.
Like 30.
He's in his prime, dog. These are the prime years. These are when you're gonna see the best Canelo you'll ever see, right here. And you know, when we talk to Jay and I'm like, Jay, you gonna watch this fight? He's like, bro, I'm tired of seeing this dude fight bums. I mean, that's the best of what's out there. Like, he ain't fighting nothing but champions. He fought one mandatory,
bro,
just because he had to. But
bro, I hate to cut you off, bro, but I get what he's saying, bro. Like, you fighting the best of what's out there, and what's out there ain't really good,
right?
Like, just because you got a title don't mean that you good. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're saying Canelo is great, like we need a great fighter. Like, I don't know how to describe it, bro. Like, you know, when you think about the old days, and I know this probably predates most of us, but like Marvin Hagler when he fought
Tommy Hearns?
Sugar Ray. Bro, that was all time great. Like, you don't have fights like that no more. Even in the Mayweather era, like you didn't have fights like that anymore.
No,
you did.
Like this. I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know.
I think MMA hurt boxing in that area because everybody started doing MMA instead of boxing, instead of coming up and doing boxing. Because back in our day, in the 80s, 90s, you had like Saturday night, Friday, Saturday night, we were watching boxing. We weren't watching MMA. We were watching boxing. And it was either Tyson, Holyfield, Gotti, Ward,
but
Whitaker.
see, it's like the heavyweight fights ain't even the same, bro.
But no, you can't really say that, because look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is the perfect example of dealing with the same shit Canelo's dealing with now. Mike Tyson fought, if you look back at his career, he beat the shit out of nothing but tomato cans.
Yeah.
Nobody he really fought and beat was worth the shit.
There was nobody in the heavyweight division, though.
That's a lie.
But
he didn't fight Foreman. He didn't fight Holyfield and win. He didn't fight Lennox Lewis and win. He lost to Buster Douglas. That's what I'm saying, dog. Like there weren't a lot of legit heavyweights, but the ones that were legit, Tyson didn't beat. He was beating a bunch of goofy looking white dudes and goofy looking black dudes. Like, when you put him up against but
I think the difference with that,
one
bro,
name of Mike Tyson's heavyweight opponents that was like, oh, he was good and Mike Tyson beat him.
So two reasons, bro. I think the difference in that is, one, it's the heavyweight class. So because it's the heavyweight class, it's like, though, dare I say, like, the punches mean more. Like, when you really thought of boxing, you thought of heavyweight fights. You didn't think of welterweight, middleweight. You thought heavyweight. You thought all those names you just listed: Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis,
Holyfield.
Like, you thought those names. Like,
but look at the heavyweights before them, though. Like Ali, Frazier, George Foreman.
I'm saying you had a history of great heavyweight fighters,
right?
And now, like, the dynamic has shifted towards welterweight, middleweight. You know what I'm saying? And it's just not that many great fighters in that class like it once was in the old days when you had Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray
Leonard. Yep.
Yeah, like
Duran.
You had a list of names, bro. Hell, even Mayweather uncle. Like, he was a decent fighter.
Roger.
Yeah. Like you had a group of fighters, bro, that were all elite. Like now you have maybe two. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But that's
Like
what I'm saying is Canelo's
so
he's suffering
like I'm not
because of
taking anything away from him. I'm just
right.
saying that the talent level isn't his talent.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm
Like
saying. Like
yeah,
he's suffering
yeah.
because of the same reason Tyson suffered.
There's nobody in that division.
Tyson was beating
or
who was
class.
there. Right. He was beating who was there.
Right.
But he didn't have a big name. Every big name needs another big name.
Right.
Ali and Frazier, Ali and Foreman, Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez, Macho Camacho and Julio Cesar Chavez.
Gotti
you know what I'm
and
saying?
Ward.
Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard,
Yep.
Gotti and Ward. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody has that. Canelo doesn't have that.
Yeah,
He doesn't have a guy right now that you're just like, I want to see that those two get it.
bro. Unless it's like a, I don't know about the Charlo brothers. I mean, they're supposed to be good fighters, but I think if he ends up fighting like a Earl Spence or
That's a catchweight fight. Like he's way bigger than Errol Spence is.
yeah, I know. I'm saying
Unless
because
Errol comes up in weight.
I think Earl said he wanted to come up in weight, but like if that fight happened or if ain't the Charlo brothers?
The Charlos are at 160 and 168. Like I think it's Jermel that is in contention to maybe fight Canelo. And Canelo said we got to make that fight happen. We got to make the Charlo fight happen, and we got to make the David Benavidez fight happen.
Yeah,
like he wants those fights.
He wants those fights because he sees them as an actual challenge.
But see,
he
the
knows
Charlo
that they're going to
brothers-
challenge him.
I don't even see the Charlo brothers as a challenge, bro. Like they got the name, but do they really have the skill?
No.
Like I'm looking at those guys fight, bro, and it's like they're not honed in on their skills yet. They're still too wild.
Right.
Like Canelo is elite. These guys are good.
Right.
So I'm like, unless they get they shit together, like it's like, bro, who is he fighting?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I agree. And that's why after the fight, he called out his next fight that he wants, which is Caleb Plant, who's another belt holder that he wants to, just so that way he can unify that whole weight division, and he'll have every single belt in that division.
He'll be the first Mexican fighter to ever do it. To unify 168.
The Mike Tyson thing, bro. Like the thing with Mike Tyson that I was gonna say that I didn't get to, bro. Mike Tyson was knocking people out with one punch. Like 10 seconds in, it's over with. It wasn't going 6 rounds. It didn't go 8 rounds.
Right.
It didn't go past the first round. Yeah, it didn't go past the first round.
It didn't go past 15 seconons. Like you in, you out. It's over with. Good work. Like and you out.
Story of my life.
So, you know, if Canelo was doing that, then this probably wouldn't even be a discussion, bro. But you know, we like you said, he be dragging ass through these fights, trying to make it entertaining, and. Like now we're questioning, like, damn, bro, like we know you're better than these guys.
Yeah.
Like you could have ended this dude in in the 4th round. You know what I'm saying? So
but I think he's a showman. I think he sees 73,000 and he's like, I'm not about to send 73,000 people home in 2 rounds. Like, we're about to give him a show. And I think some of that is he's still growing as a fighter. To me, the only thing that Canelo has to work on is his foot speed and his cardio.
But let's be real, y'all. If you were in the driver's seat and you knew you were in the driver's seat, right? Like, would you rush things or would you take it at your pace?
As far as what,
ring,
brother?
in the ring, if you know that you have this fight under control, you can take him out.
Anything can happen.
You can take him out whenever you want to. Are you gonna do it at your pace, or are you gonna rush, just to rush to get it over with?
I think it's smart to take your pace because I feel like if you rush, that's when anything can happen. Like you make a mistake because you're in a hurry. The other thing is, I think he was like, this dude been talking shit. he made my life a living hell the week of the fight, talking about he was going to back out, that he wanted a bigger ring, that he was going to take his belt and he wasn't going to give me the opportunity. And I think he was like, you know what? I'm going to beat his ass and I'm going to let him know that there are levels to this thing and I'm about to have to fade you one time. And he faded his ass dirty. So I enjoyed it, man. I tripped out. It was such a trip to see 73,000 people in the stadium. Fighting. That stadium looked beautiful. It looked like a Dallas Cowboys home game, complete with 2019, nobody wearing a mask. You know what I'm saying?
Everywhere.
Just everywhere. People
complete with fighting in the stands.
People were boxing in the stands. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I seen this dude. He was just chiefing, and he had security waiting on his ass. Like,
that wasn't security.
Wait till we get to you, fam.
That was Tarrant County Sheriff Department.
Bro, my man's had like cowboy hats. I was like, he's really about to get his ass whooped when they catch him.
Rangers.
Boy, they were not having it. So
not the baseball team.
He was out there with no shirt. I was like, man, get my people, please. Please get my people. But yeah, man, it's good to see sports coming back. Canelo said he's doing it again in September, so it'll be around Mexican Independence Day. And maybe they'll bring it back here again. Who knows?
Quick, man. He looked fine after the fight.
Bro, he's been fighting 70 days apart. 70 days. How many boxers are doing that?
Not a lot. Just
bro, that's some old time shit. You know what I'm saying? Like boxers used to fight 3, 4, or 5 times a year. He's trying to push for 4 times this year.
That's crazy.
3 or 4. Because if he boxes again in September, he'll fight at the end of the year.
Hats off to him, man. Hats off to him.
Hey, he's just printing that money, fam. Printing that money. That's all he's doing.